In a small, quiet village surrounded by lush greenery, there lived an elderly woman named Mama Obi. She had once been known for her wisdom and compassion, a pillar in the village. But time had taken its toll. An illness had stolen her sight many years ago, plunging her into darkness. Yet, despite her blindness, she remained strong in spirit. She clung to the memories of raising her only son, Obi, with endless love and care. For Mama Obi, Obi had been her world. Obi had grown into a responsible and hard-working man. Everyone in the village admired him for his dedication to his mother and the love he showed her, even though her blindness made it hard for her to take care of herself. As a young boy, Obi had promised to always protect his mother, and as he grew older, that promise only strengthened. When Obi reached the age of marriage, he met Rosemary, a beautiful woman from a neighboring village. Rosemary was striking, with sharp features and a voice so sweet it could calm even the most restless heart. To the outside world, she seemed like a kind and gentle soul, the perfect match for Obi. But beneath Rosemary's charm and beauty lay a heart filled with bitterness and cruelty, especially toward Mama Obi. From the moment Rosemary moved into Obi's home after their wedding, her resentment toward Mama Obi simmered just below the surface. In her mind, the old woman was nothing more than a burden. Rosemary despised how much attention Obi gave to his mother, the tenderness in his voice when he spoke to her, and the way he seemed to prioritize her needs over Rosemary's own desires. Every morning, Rosemary watched with a tight smile as Obi helped his blind mother out of bed, prepared her breakfast, and sat with her before he left for work. Obi worked long hours as a carpenter, often leaving early and returning late in the evening. And it was in those hours when Rosemary revealed her true self. While Obi was home, Rosemary wore the mask of a dutiful daughter-in-law. She would tend to Mama Obi's needs, asking her if she was comfortable, feeding her meals with exaggerated kindness, and speaking in a soft, honeyed voice. But the moment Obi left for work, her mask slipped, and the bitterness in her heart surfaced. Rosemary saw Mama Obi's blindness as an opportunity. The old woman couldn't see her sneering face or the twisted look of disgust in her eyes. Rosemary began to demand that Mama Obi do household chores that were almost impossible for a blind woman to manage. She forced her to wash dishes, clean the floors, and even prepare meals. It didn't matter to Rosemary that Mama Obi's hands trembled with age, or that she often stumbled and knocked things over. The cruelties Rosemary inflicted were small at first, things no one would notice. She would leave sharp objects on the floor, knowing Mama Obi would trip over them. She laughed cruelly when the old woman dropped a dish and broke it. "You're so useless," Rosemary would mutter, just loud enough for Mama Obi to hear. "What good are you if you can't even do something as simple as wash a plate?" Mama Obi would bruise herself, her fragile body aching from the constant falls and accidents, but she never complained. She didn't want to be a burden to her son. She loved Obi too much to tell him the truth, knowing it would break his heart. Instead, she endured Rosemary's cruelty in silence. Day after day, she would sit quietly in her corner, her world filled with darkness, holding on to the love she had for her son. She hoped and prayed that one day, Obi would see Rosemary for who she truly was, but she also feared the pain it would cause him. As the months went by, Rosemary's resentment grew. She began to resent Obi too. In her mind, he was too blind to see how much Mama Obi was ruining their lives. Every time Obi came home, the way he doted on his mother made Rosemary's blood boil. Why should an old blind woman get all his attention? Why did she have to share her husband with someone so helpless? One day, Rosemary's cruelty took a darker turn. She had grown tired of having Mama Obi in her home, tired of pretending to be the perfect daughter-in-law, and tired of watching Obi devote so much of his time and love to his mother. Rosemary decided it was time to rid herself of the old woman once and for all. Her plan formed in the stillness of the night. her thoughts twisted by jealousy and anger. Rosemary had heard stories in the village of how a person could be poisoned quietly and without suspicion. The next morning, as Obi prepared to leave for work, Rosemary kissed him goodbye with a smile that barely touched her lips. "Take care of Mama while I'm gone," he said, as he always did. "I will," Rosemary replied sweetly, though her heart was already dark with her wicked plan. As soon as Obi left, Rosemary began preparing Mama Obi's breakfast. Only this time, she added something extra. She had acquired a deadly herb from an old villager, one known for its potency in causing a slow, undetectable death. She ground the herb into a fine powder and mixed it into the stew she made for Mama Obi. When the meal was ready, Rosemary carried the tray to Mama Obi, who was sitting in her usual corner, humming a lullaby she used to sing to Obi when he was a child. Mama Obi's face lit up when she heard Rosemary approach. "Rosemary, dear, you've brought my meal. You're always so good to me," Mama Obi said softly, her voice filled with the gentle warmth of a mother's love. Rosemary's stomach churned with anger at the sound of those words. How could this old woman be so blind to everything? How could she still believe that Rosemary cared for her? With a twisted smile, Rosemary knelt beside Mama Obi and said, "Yes, Mama, I've brought you something special today. Let me help you eat." Mama Obi, sensing the unusual tone in Rosemary's voice, hesitated for a moment. Her instincts, though dulled by age and blindness, stirred uneasily. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the food. She felt something in the air, a tension she couldn't quite place, but she had no reason to doubt her daughter-in-law. Rosemary raised the spoon to Mama Obi's lips, ready to force the poisoned stew into her mouth. Just as the spoon touched Mama Obi's lips, the door creaked open. Obi stood there, his face pale, his eyes wide with shock. He had forgotten his tools for work and had returned earlier than usual. For a moment, he stood frozen in the doorway, unable to process what he was seeing. His beloved wife, the woman he had trusted, was kneeling beside his mother, about to force-feed her something that looked anything but nurturing. "Rosemary," Obi's voice trembled with a mix of rage and disbelief. "What are you doing?" Rosemary's hand froze mid-air, the spoon still hovering near Mama Obi's lips. She turned to Obi, her face twisting with fury. The pretense of kindness fell away completely. Her eyes, once soft and inviting, now burned with hatred. The weight of her lies, her jealousy, and her rage came pouring out. "She's a burden, Obi!" Rosemary spat, her voice filled with venom. "Can't you see? She's ruining our lives. She's nothing but dead weight. I was only trying to make things easier for us." Obi felt as if the ground beneath him had collapsed. The woman he loved, the woman he had trusted with his life, was nothing more than a heartless monster. His heart shattered into 1,000 pieces as he rushed to his mother, cradling her frail body in his arms. Tears welled up in his eyes as he whispered, "How could you, Rosemary? How could you do this to her? She's my mother. She's done nothing but love us both." Mama Obi, though blind, could hear the anguish in her son's voice. She reached out with trembling hands, trying to comfort him. "Obi, my son," she whispered, "don't cry. I'm fine." But Obi was not fine. The pain of betrayal seared through his soul like fire. He turned to Rosemary, his face wet with tears. "You were supposed to be part of this family. You were supposed to love and care for her, but all you've done is destroy everything we had." Rosemary, realizing her plan had failed and that she had been caught, tried to plead with Obi. She stumbled over her words, trying to justify her actions, but Obi's mind was already made up. His heart ached as he took Rosemary by the arm and dragged her out of the house. "You have no place in this home, Rosemary," he said, his voice firm despite the unbearable pain in his chest. "You have no place in our lives." And with that, Rosemary was cast out, left to wander the village alone, shunned by everyone who heard of her wickedness.